Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the AIESEC Sri Lanka podcast, which deals with the theme through the eyes of a trendsetter. This is our third episode, and it's looking great so far. And today, I'll be your host, as usual. I'm Arfan, the current member committee vice president for incoming global talent. And today, we actually have a very special theme, and we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, which will be translating the vision into reality. So we hope to learn and discover on how we can translate a vision, a dream into reality and make it come true. And for that, I am very happy and proud to have an amazing guest speaker on board to speak with you guys. He is none other than Mr. Dulinda Perera, who is the Chief Executive Officer, founder of IKON, the Executive Director of Ceylon Robotics and Technology Corporation, Managing Director of Greenable Technology Private Limited, and he's also a lecturer at Wisdom Business Academy. Mr. Dulinda, it's a very nice feeling, and it's extremely amazing to have you here with us today. And I'm really looking forward to having a very nice podcast with you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much for the generous introduction, and yes, likewise, looking forward for an amazing discussion.
Amazing. All right. So going on with the first question, it is if we can go back in time and if we can meet. If you get the chance to meet Dulinda as a child, childhood Dulinda, what was he like and how did he become the person he is today? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people want to know about what kind of steps did the little Dulinda take to come to this place that you are right now.
All right, pretty interesting question. Little Dulinda was a very notorious kid. I think one of the most troublesome kids that was in college back in the day. If you happen to wander off into any of the teachers who used to teach me, he was always also a studious chap. I think probably the only reason as to why he was not sacked from college. Yeah, I had a pretty interesting childhood. I mean, I had I believe, the excellent balance between study and creating hell back in class. Yeah, I had a pretty amazing childhood, and I think as a schoolboy, I used to always resort to a lot of extracurricular activities and all that, right? Which kind of prompted the way that I have over now in terms of doing things that is beyond your scope to a certain extent, right? And doing things which are beyond just the play that the society expects you to do. The childhood Dulinda was, even the current Dulinda, it was always a big time mama's boy. And I used to adore my mother, and she's a banker by profession. So something that I always saw in her career was the fact that how she dealt with humans, how she dealt with people, how the relationships you build with people, how interesting your career gets. So it's just so that I never had a clear idea that I want to be this person, but something that I've always ventured was, I want to build a career around people, and that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
Amazing. So an extension to that question, maybe what was the most notorious thing you did as a child? If you could remember.
My God, I don't even know whether saying those things are applicable at this podcast. I do things. I mean, I'm telling you, the only reason why I was kept at college, I'm a Josephian, so 13 years of my life I've schooled at St. Joseph's, but the only reason why I was kept at college was, I think, purely because of my studies and my extracurricular activities. If not for that, they would have definitely sacked me off. So I was that notorious. If you ask any Joe within the batch of 2015, they would probably tell that. There's countless amount of things that I can't tell you right now in a public forum. But simply because, not because of anything, but simply because I don't want to induce another child to do that.
Very true. Amazing. Okay. So Dulinda, social media marketing is essential. It's essential in every business, and we've seen with the COVID, with the pandemic development, and even post-pandemic in many countries, companies are disrupting the way they've been doing marketing, and it's become something that is very essential. And this is in your passion and your career as well at the same time. And so at such a young age, how do you discover your true calling, and who and what has been your biggest motivator? I think the people listening would really love to know kind of how your career came into this, how you aligned yourself into social media marketing, and at the same time, where do you find your motivation towards this? And or was there someone specific that motivated you, or was there some moment in your life that actually guided you towards this?
All right. So to set a bit of context to what you are asking, I am also an undergraduate at Faculty of Engineering, University of Moratuwa. So in 2015, when I started off IKON, I had that career lined in front of me. See, in the Sri Lankan context, you do advanced level, you get 3 years for mathematics, you get selected to University of Moratuwa. It's a set, defined career pathway that is awaiting you. Once you get into Moratuwa, it's a predefined career pathway that awaits you, right? So it's all set. There is absolutely no risk. There is absolutely no risk of, you don't have to worry about job security and whatnot. You're definitely going to get a job, right? So it's a set career pathway versus when I felt the way we started IKON was simply a happy mistake. It was a uncalled invitation. We were doing SEMA at an institute in Kolpiti called Wisdom Business Academy, Sri Lanka's largest SEMA business academy. And while we were doing SEMA, the group general manager, he's the actual initiator of IKON. Chintaka Vijayaratna. So he just told us, why don't you guys do something on social media for us? I mean, not as a paid campaign or something, right? But then it turned into a professional engagement. We thought this was fun. We were young. Obviously, as young boys, you have a lot of expenses to take care of and all that. So an extra few bucks can always help. So we just purely did it for that. 2 years later, we learned how to do it. And then 5 years later, here we are. So it's just that. But just to set a bit of clarity on the question that you asked, is it my true calling? I don't actually know. I feel the world is changing at such a dynamic space that the intuitions that people had some time back saying, you get into a career, you stay in that career for 30, 40 years, and then you retire, and then you go for a happily ever after. I don't think that happens in the world anymore. I see a lot of mid-level career changes. There is a lot of corporate leaders who step down from their corporate careers and come back and start being an entrepreneur by the age of 35, 40. All right. So whether this is my true calling, I am yet to discover. Do I enjoy what I'm doing at the right moment? Yes. And I believe that is purely the benchmark. Whether it is the true calling or not, I simply enjoy what I'm doing right now, and it's an amazing feeling.
Amazing. Just in addition to that question, when you said that you don't really know what your true calling is, and what I felt is that at some points I think you are a generalist. You don't really try to specialize in one thing, but maybe you try to experience a lot of different things and you try to learn a lot. So what is your take on that, about you trying so many different kinds of things?
See, my understanding on the whole thing is you should never have all your eggs in one basket, because if that basket goes down, you go down. All right. Mm-hmm. If you look at IKON, for an example, IKON initially started off so completely focusing on digital branding alone. All right. My first move of going out of my comfort zone was heading off to establish IKON Impressions, which was also a digital productions arm. My second move was to establish IKON Labs, which is an IT infrastructure arm, completely unrelated to digital branding. So I wanted to diversify my investment as of right now. So IKON currently is a group of companies. And 2020 in the middle of COVID, with some work that I used to do for the robotics industry, I got an invitation from the Honorable Prime Minister right now to join the state as an executive director at CRTC. So now that's a whole new different ball game, right? That's joining into the state or the public service. That's a different category altogether, because we as entrepreneurs, businessmen or whatever, we're used to play in the level of the private businesses and the private sector, right? You get into public sector, that's a completely different story. And all of that together in 2019, when I moved and purchased Greenable Technologies, it's not a company that I found. It's a company that I purchased over 51% of the stake. That is a completely unrelated business. It's into chemicals, supplying of chemicals, water purification systems and whatnot, right? It's completely irrelevant to digital branding, but relevant to what I study at Morotua, Chemical and Process Engineering. So I feel like you being a jack of many trades is kind of what is expected out of you, because your risk is substantially distributed among multiple different sectors. If one of the sectors that you set to your foot is to fall for some other reason, you would not go empty-handed. You have something to carry on with, and then from that point onwards build. But in the meantime, the fact that you diversify your investments and diversify your risk also enables you to look at multiple different things. I mean, my experience from working with IKON to my experience now working with the state to my experience now working with Sri Lanka Army and Sri Lanka Tourism, completely three different experiences, but I absolutely love all three of it. So it's quite a thrilled situation. I mean, I'm excited. I'm pumped up for that.
And even when I was going through your portfolio, and even when I was looking at the certain projects that you're involved in, I immediately got the idea that you have your hand in everything, and that is in its essence that is what a true entrepreneur has to focus on in these days. Because I was reading this book recently. It was called Range. So it was a discussion between who is a generalist and what is a specialist. So the discussion came as to someone like Tiger Woods. So since he was young, all he did was practice golf. Someone like Roger Federer, until he was 16, he kept trying different sports. But after 16, he focused more on tennis. But when you evaluate both people, they have achieved the same amount of success, or best in the world in tennis, best in the world in golf. But the conversation came about that Roger tried everything, and Tiger Woods was more of a specialist. So I think that's a very interesting conversation, and a lot of people have different takes on it. So I believe that you are a generalist because you love to try different kinds of things, which is really amazing. Okay. All right. So spearheading a full stack digital media company at a young age while doing a full-time degree is indeed a tough task. So I can't even imagine how that happens, and would really love to know what is your routine in managing all of that. So with regards to that, what is the most challenging obstacle that you had to confront on your journey as an entrepreneur, and how did you overcome that? And at the same time, maybe an extension would be how are your routines like? Because a lot of young people today, they find it very hard to completely balance out things. Let's say when you're in your university, you want to plan a startup or something like that, and you are unable to manage your time, and you don't really know how to how do you segregate your personal life, your professional life, and all of that. So I would really love to know, a leading entrepreneur as yourself, what do you do and how do you balance it all? And at the same time, what were the different obstacles that you had to face in this journey?
All right. Interesting question. I get asked this a lot because I believe I have a lot on my plate right now. And a lot of people actually ask this, okay, how does it? So, I mean, it's not rocket science. I believe that we Sri Lankans love to complicate things, right? Even the simplest of forms, we like to complicate things, and we just like to pretend that we are busy. And say, oh my God, I had just a hectic week. You have no idea. I'm absolutely working like a dog and I'm mad tired, right? But essentially, what we have had is a collection of multiple different tasks, and if executed in an orderly fashion, it would have taken 4 hours for you to do it. But you keep procrastinating it, you keep talking about it rather than doing the actual work, and then at the end of the day, also you still have the 4 tasks remaining. You haven't completed any of it. How my routine looks like is, like you said, I do run a full stack digital media agency, which employs 56 people as of right now. So it's a bit of a task managing 56 people. And it's not just the employees that you have to manage. You have to manage the expectations of the clients. As you would well be aware, digital media branding is not just a one-off thing. It's a continuous engagement. And we don't have day offs. We don't have Independence Day or whatnot. So it's a continuous engagement. One thing that I don't do is I don't try to micromanage my people. My team is extremely talented, and I completely have good faith in my team. I know the demarcation of my responsibilities, and I know what the others have to say. I mean, there is a proper hierarchy that has been established within IKON. So as CEO, I execute my responsibilities. I have the head of each department, the leads under them who will operationally get involved with the account executives and so on and so forth. And of course, you have the operational level who will be the account executives and the creative graphic designers, content strategists, paid media, and whatnot. So I think each of them are independently well equipped with the ability to execute whatever that is expected out of them. And they do a pretty amazing job in executing their duties. So you don't need to pinpoint and say, you don't need to pinpoint and ascertain saying that this is what you're supposed to do or that is what you're supposed to do. Right. It's so given the fact that you have a team who is extremely reliable, whom you can take a call on, say, and say, you know what, get this done, makes my life a lot easier. Of course, I have to give a bit of a portion for my university work as well, though I think that is the most portion that gets neglected. And of course, the assignments, this, that, and the other. I try to do it probably at late night, not during the day, because during the day I'm engaged otherwise. So about once a week or twice a week, I usually go to Templetrees for CRTC work and whatnot. And if at all, I consult Sri Lanka Army on a need to call basis. So if at all there is something that goes on with the specific sector that I'm consulting them with, I make a move over there, or else it's mostly working from home, as well as Sri Lanka tourism, same story. So that's actually a bit of my engagement. I think like 75% of my time actually goes to IKON. But then there are days that I get 100% full-fledged working with certain districts. For example, when the airport opening was close by, 26th of Jan, that entire 2 weeks I was completely engaged with Sri Lanka tourism, because there was a lot of work to be done, a lot of branding, a lot of this, that, and the other. The small nitty-gritties that needed to be sorted out. So yes, that's actually pretty much about it. But one thing is for sure, when the exams are around the corner, I take a break. So usually I take 2 weeks off. That's, the usual reading week for us, for the university students. So I usually take the reading week off, completely concentrate on the studies for those 2 weeks. But yeah, move on of that sort.
Okay.
And so mostly right now, with the current engagements, weekends are for lectures and all of that. I lecture SEMA at to Visitor. A very small portion, but yes, that's just for the passion of it.
So Dulinda, from the amount of work that you have, is the majority of your work done at home? Like, do you mostly prefer a work from home routine, or do you like to have to travel around?
I do have to travel around. I usually, even at IKON, like one of my main responsibilities is, if at all, if any one of you all are following me on Instagram, you can clearly see this, because I have this habit of documenting my day on Instagram stories. But usually my day usually looks like the morning usually looks like a bunch of meetings. This. I'm a person. Even though I'm young, I'm a person who really loves the old school fashioned physical meetings rather than the online virtual meetings. Because my basis of doing all of this is people, the interaction that I have with people. And I don't quite firmly believe that the interaction with people is as much as it would have been if, even this session that the two of us are doing right now, I think the impact would have been much, much more better if this was done on physical. But of course, desperate time calls for desperate measures. But Yeah, so morning looks like a big bunch of meetings. Evenings are relatively relaxed because I go out with my friends, have a good time, and whatnot. And late evenings come home, a little bit of Netflix, and about 11 o'clock in the night probably do some work, respond to whatever the emails are, and yes, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so one interesting question that I had was like, now during all the meetings and the times that you have to study and when you have to work for IKON, where do you get the time to like actually balance out your personal life, like with your friends, with your family? How does that work? And less
Most
time.
of my friends, it just so happens to be the fact that most of my friends, like about 75% of my friends, are actually working at IKON. So
Wow.
working is not essentially like working, because most of the time, even when we sit down for let's say a brainstorming session, we call it a brainstorming session, but 75% of the time we talk about some crap and, bug another person. And I mean, you can ask anyone at IKON. I think Minuli is here. She's a good testimony for the whole same. I think the majority of what I do at IKON is bug people. I'm very good at that. And sometimes it goes up to the extent where they call it workplace harassment. But I mean, I can assure you I'm not harassing them. But I mean, it's a lot of fun because you see, the entire team is contemporary ages. The eldest member that we have in our team is 25 years of age. And we have a fun-loving bunch of people. So I don't actually feel like it's work because you work and then you probably head out for lunch to some cafe or something, and then it's just like that. And even if, let's say, from office to a meeting, if we are taking a ride, even the ride is just so fun. Like we'll put up some music, roll down the shutters, and like shout or whatever. I mean, I like to have a lot of fun. I'm a very jovial person. I'm not a very serious person, unless otherwise I have to. So I like to crack a joke, laugh a little, because I mean, who knows what will happen tomorrow, right? So I like to enjoy my life. I don't want to concentrate and say, okay, you know what? 5 days you work and then the weekend you have fun. That's bullshit. So I don't have a clear demarcation like that. But if at all, if you look at my Instagram stories, you can see that every other day there is some sort of a meetup, like one type of a meetup to another. Even yesterday, I think when Teshani was calling me, the one reason I couldn't answer was I was at a party. So I usually have a very good time.
Oh, that's amazing. Because like what I remember was that I was recently going through this article and which stated that it is very essential for young people, especially entrepreneurs, like at this age, like in the prime age that we are, like in our 20s, like to manage relationships effectively. Otherwise, it will cause some kind of burnout, and you always need an outlet to kind of let loose. And because while I mean, in the field that you're working in, especially, what I feel is that you need to consistently become creative. You need to innovate. You need to like think about different norms and how you're going to challenge these things. And if you don't really have an outlet to release that, and if it causes a burnout, it's going to result in counterproductivity. But I'm really happy to know that you have that routine and you're getting through those things.
100%. I completely agree with you because, see, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The life that I live and the profession that I am in is a very stressful profession because, I mean, all the other external contributions and commitments that I have on my plate right now makes it all the more harder and all the more stressful. For an example, if you look at my engagement with Sri Lanka Army, I consult the commander of Army, and he's no joke at the end of the day. If you look Sri Lanka Tourism, I consult the chairperson tourism, Kimali Fernando, and she is, as of right now, the highest office holder of Sri Lanka Tourism. So it comes with a lot of stress and a lot of expectations. I'm not going to say no, but I feel like it's within you to create any sort of any engagement and to have fun with it. I mean, if I look at this engagement, like, oh my God, there is another bloody webinar at 11 o'clock in the morning on the Independence Day, and I'll be like, what independence do I have? It's not going to work out like that. right? You need to look forward for every engagement, and in each engagement, you need to find at least one small corner that will make you interesting, will make you happy. It could be a nice joke, it could be a beautiful girl, it could be a beautiful story, it could be a very amazing food. That's something that really keeps you motivating. Whatever it is, the small things in life will always push you a long, long, long way.
Very true, very true. I can totally relate to that. All right. We get off the seriousness a bit now, and we're going to move into a very fun segment. So it'll be the rapid fire question. And since I know you like to have a bit of fun also, so I'm going to ask you some questions, and I need an immediate answer. Right. Okay. So question number 1: what's the weirdest nickname you've ever had?
What is the weirdest
nickname?
Buddhi Gochara.
Okay.
I think this was from one of my friends in grade 12 or something. Like I said, I was a bit of a smart ass at school. So yes.
All right. What is the most useless talent you have?
What is the most useless talent that I have?
Maybe your team at IKON could probably give that answer.
Really, you want to help me out with this? What is the most useless thing that I do? Bug people? I'm very good at that. I don't know whether it is useless or useful.
So if you can date a fictional character, who or what would it be?
A fictional character? Hermione Granger, I think. I always used to have a mad amount of respect and love for the amount of brains, amount of personality, amount of courage, blah, 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 and of course the beauty of Emma Watson, for that matter. But yes.
Right. All right. So what ridiculous thing has someone tricked you into doing or believing? So something extremely stupid or ridiculous someone has tricked you into doing or believing.
Tricked you into doing. I think this would be my girlfriend. She makes me do a lot of ridiculous things. One among the many would be doing some stupid TikTok. This thing that where the couples do this and that and the other. I think yes.
I'm pretty sure, like after people listen to this podcast, they're gonna go over to TikTok and try to find this video.
No, it's not there. It's not. I mean, she's not a person who uses TikTok. It's just she looks at those things and she laughs it out. But she's a very entertaining person. And one of the many other reasons as to why I have a lesser stressful life is my girlfriend. In fact, she's a very entertaining person.
That's amazing. All right. So horror movie or comedy? So would you prefer a horror or comedy?
Neither, I would say, but if I was to pick comedy, I think, yeah.
I totally thought comedy. Probably that's where you get all your jokes from.
I know, exactly. No, actually no though, right? I mean, for an example, Vinuli over here is a very big fan of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I just, as to why she is, but I mean, comedy, not horror.
Okay. Are you a morning person or a night person?
Night. Today I got up at 9:30 in the morning. I mean, I usually don't get up that late, but today I just got up at 9:30.
I'd be surprised if any young person right now would say during this post-pandemic or pandemic time, like if they're a morning person.
100%. Vinoli here gets up at 12 o'clock in noon. I mean, she's up today early, but yes.
Okay, so ability to time travel or teleport?
Ability to time travel or teleport? Definitely teleport. In my life, I would never, except for, I think, one or two things, I will never change anything. Not a thing. I don't have a lot of regrets. So, but one thing is for sure is I'm always late. So, if I could teleport, yes, that actually solves a lot of my issues like along a day, because like I have to get between certain places like tuck. So it really helps. Yeah.
Dyeing your hair or getting a tattoo?
Getting a tattoo, definitely, provided that you speak to my mother and change her mind about that.
So she's like more susceptible to you getting a tattoo instead of dyeing your hair.
This is okay. Dyeing my hair in like different color, is it? Like, no, definitely. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan.
Becoming famous or becoming rich?
That's a hard bargain. It comes to the point, what type of famous, No, becoming famous. Becoming famous, yes. Once you become famous, if you are smart enough, you can become rich.
Yeah, you can like somehow convert that into money.
Exactly, because I think if you are famous and if you have some sort of a social following, if you don't know how to create and convert that into an engagement, I think, I don't know what you're doing wrong.
Exactly. All right, being happy or being successful?
Happy, definitely. I think my norm of being successful is happy, because I think success is a very subjective norm. My norm is being able to go to sleep with a very happy heart. For me, the people who know me knows, I value my peace of mind very much, very, 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 very much. Even if I have a problem or this thing, I would rather solve it, even that if it takes like 2 o'clock in the morning, I would rather solve the problem and go to sleep rather than going to sleep with a problem in my head.
I think that's where you kind of get fulfillment, because you feel fulfilled when you go to bed that you've done everything you're supposed to do. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Now we'll go back to the main questions and we'll go back to the serious part of the podcast. All right. So Dulinda, from the way we've had this conversation and from everything that we've known about you in your life as well, like we've seen you're very goal-oriented and you're a visionary leader and you're leading a great team at IKON and you are standing for your people, and that is something that is really true for a young person to demonstrate that kind of leadership. So why don't you just tell some of your life goals to us, like what kind of aspirations do you have in life? Because that would be really interesting for everyone to know, like what does, at the end of the day, what does Dulinda Perera see and envision for his life? And if I ask you, like, what's the one dream that you want to realize in the coming 10 years of your life, what would it be? And why is that dream relevant to you as well? So you can send me a couple of dreams that you have, and maybe in a 10-year span, what do you want to achieve?
See, I always get asked, where do I see myself in another 5 years, in another 10 years, right? As much as I'm goal-oriented, I am not that much of a visionary, but something that I always say is, like I said, the future and the pace at which the world is changing, it does so at such a rapid pace that you actually have no idea what the world is going to be like in 2 years' time. 3 years' time, we might be having this conversation again, and such a field called digital branding or social media may not exist, given that social media already has a lot of criticism against data privacy and privacy policies. All right.
Yes.
Now, that being said, I have one goal and one very simple goal. I have always believed in the fact that life is extremely short. I've had many reasons, many personal reasons to believe that life is very short. And I fundamentally believe that, right? So I don't agree and believe on the fact, like I said, I don't agree and believe on the fact work 5 days, have fun on Saturday and Sunday. I don't believe work for 30 years so that you can spend the rest of your 30 years, luxuriously and whatnot. So I try to find a middle ground where you can enjoy the right moment that you have. So rather than saying, okay, you know what, I'll work like a dog for this month so that next month I will enjoy. You never know whether you will live to see the next month in the first place. This world is so dynamic, it's so risky and so unpredictable, right? So my only goal is, like I said, keep being happy and to be able to do things that makes me happy. If buying a vehicle is what something that makes me happy, I would do that. Exactly. If buying an ice cream is what makes me happy, I would do that. And currently, I would work to be able to afford that, not financially only. If let's say, if my mental stability is what makes me happy, which really does, I would do everything in my power to afford that, right? So that would mean have good relationships, have very close personal relationships, have a financial independency, and I do not depend on financially on another person, so that it gives me mental stability in return. So likewise. So everything that I do is essentially captured and captivated and boils down to the fundamental fact that I want to be happy at this right very moment. I think that's a simple yet effective goal, both in the long term and the short term.
So, Dulinda, I'm going to be going into my final question. The question is, being a young entrepreneur who has risen up the ladder in the industry and, with your own strengths and like your own fair share of learnings, you've experienced a lot at such a young age. And I'm pretty sure like the next chapter of your life is going to be as interesting as it was up to this point. And there's so much young people in Sri Lanka can learn from you, because I believe that the potential of the young people in this country is so immense that it's just something that takes time to be realized. So as you know, we are concluding this space, and like as this podcast is going to come to an end, I want you to give a final message, because this is going to be like our listeners are going to be young people within the AIESEC Sri Lanka network, within the youth of this country. They're going to be listening to this. So a final message to motivate the young people and rising entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka, because I believe that they really need to hear from you. And if people know you, they can see the kind of way you are, like you're doing a degree and you're doing your own company. You're involved in so many different projects, and so like things like this only young people aspire to do after they finish their degree, or after it's a dream that they don't really think about achieving. But what I feel that you have done is you've done this as soon as you've got it, and that is the beauty of it. So maybe I wanted to give a final message as to how, like, summarizing your entire experience and maybe on what you think young people need to do at this moment.
Two things. Number one, like I always say, life is too short. So if you want to do something, do it now. Time after time, when I go to address a forum, and I've always asked, how many of you want to become entrepreneurs? A lot of people raise their hands. But then I asked, how many of you have actually started off a business as of right now? It's a very few. When asked upon from the people who have raised their hands as to why they have not started a business of their own as of right now, if they actually do want to start a business of their own, they go to the extent of saying, we actually do want to start a business, but then again, we don't have time. We are undergraduates. We have tests, works, assignments, examinations, and this and that and the other. My point is, while you have work, assignments, quizzes, and all of that, right? If you want to date a boy or date a girl, you will still find time, right? If you want to play a game of cricket with your friends, you will still find time. Which means, if there is a will, there is a way, all right? So don't procrastinate things saying, you know what, I'm going to start a business when I am done with my degree. After 4 years, I'll have suitable qualifications. So don't say that I'll start a business that I'll work for 10 years in the corporate cadre, get the relevant experience, and then come and do something, right? If you want to, I'm not saying that you have to. If you want to, do it right now. Don't keep it until XYZ years, right? That's because XYZ years may never come to you. You never know. It may never come to you, right? So if you want to do something now, number one. Number two, the moment you start doing that, all right, a lot of people are going to give you their 2 cents, right? They're going to come and say, you know what, this doesn't work like this. You know what, this is not done like this. You know what, this is a better way to do this. You know what, look at that other person. Look at what they are doing. They are right now in a corporate job. 20, 30, 40 years later, they will be director. And what will you be? You will be just a person who is owning some small shop. What are you going to do? Is this even working, and all of that, right? You have to understand that is always the decisive moment in an entrepreneur's life. 5 years back when I started off this company, my own father asked me this, right? Because most people, I mean, he's a technical individual, he's a professional, he's an engineer. So obviously when I throw away a career that has been ready-made and built for me at Morotua to start off a career of the sort, it's very natural for him to ask that. But the point of the matter is, if you are an entrepreneur, the only reason why you're called an entrepreneur is your ability to see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? But if you expect the people around you to see the light at the end of the tunnel, you're kidding yourself. Because all what they can see actually is they can see the tunnel, not the light at the end of the tunnel. you as the entrepreneur will always be able to focus yourself on the light. Whereas the people around you will focus on the darkness that surrounds you or the tunnel that you have to go through with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So their statements are entirely based on the tunnel, on the darkness, right? So pity them because they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I always say entrepreneurship is not everybody's cup of tea. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of late nights. Even today, when there are certain projects and whatnot, I work till about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. But I don't consider that as work because it's my passion. I enjoy every bit of it. I enjoy every single day of it. And I absolutely love doing it. I absolutely love walking into a boardroom with confidence and presenting to some of Sri Lanka's top executives.
Exactly.
Right? And it's an absolute pleasure to do what I do. So to keep doing that, you need to be extremely passionate about it. I have a wonderful team who's so passionate about what they do, and they handle some of Sri Lanka's biggest projects. Right. So it gives, for an example, Viruli over here handles one of Sri Lanka's biggest real estate development projects, and she's just 21. So age is just a number. People will just keep talking about saying, oh, what qualifications do you have? What experience do you have? You're not set to go for this and this and the other, right? But it's always very important that you focus on what you see. You focus on the dream that you have, because that is your dream. That is not somebody else's dream, and you expecting that person to have that dream is also not going to work out. So focus on your dream. Forget about what the other people are going to say. Take constructive criticism. That's important. Take what you can out of them for your life, and move on. And one fine day, I'm sure you're going to hit the jackpot for sure.
Amazing. Okay, so that right, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up a very interesting and a very engaging and thoughtful conversation that I just shared with Mr. Dulinda Perera. Dulinda, thank you so much for being a part of this. I'm pretty sure the young people listening, they've learned something. And even while I was listening, I felt super inspired by just talking to you and just looking at because when we look at entrepreneur, what we expect is someone who's just been burning out all the time, and it's very hard for you to manage your commitments and all that. But when I see the way you have been doing everything, and you've been trying to keep your relationships going, you've been trying to manage and just completely pull out your passion into this, I think that is a very interesting concept. And you being a generalist at the same time, that is something a lot of people can learn. It's fine to learn different kinds of things, and it's fine to just be who you are. And I want to thank you very much for accepting our invitation, for being a part of this, and for making sure that at the same time, like, there's commonality. Young people will be listening to this and they want to strive to be better. And thank you for being a beacon of hope for them to be able to do this. And you being in your prime, you being still young and being in the university, that gives us enough motivation to feel that, okay, that can also be me. So thank you for accepting this invitation, and thank you for being a part of this podcast with us.
No problem at all. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for wonderful moderation, Arfan. I think that was an amazing job. Welcome. Thank you so much, and thank you, Teshari, for having me and for inviting me and bearing up with me, because I kept, I think, procrastinating this quite a lot because my schedule kept changing. But yes, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. All right. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up the third episode of the leadership, through the eyes of IKON Sri Lanka podcast. We